More high-profile testimony is expected in the impeachment inquiry into President Trump. After the break, our political experts will break down the potential impact of this week's scheduled hearings.
From the Fox 26 studios, this is Houston's Morning Show.
The impeachment inquiry into President Trump continues, and the fallout continues over the decision to pull U.S. troops out of Syria. This morning, we have Republican strategist Jackie Bally and Democratic strategist Dallas Jones to help us dig into the details. Good morning to you both, and thanks for being here.
Good morning.
Let's start with the impeachment inquiry. A U.S. ambassador is expected to testify before lawmakers on text messages concerning the president's call with the Ukrainian leader. What kind of impact do you think this is going to have? Dallas?
Well, I mean, this is the purpose of the inquiry. The inquiry is to look at all of the different aspects of whether or not there was actually an impeachable offense committed. Now, we expect that this ambassador is going to say, well, I have text messages that prove that the president has said there was no quid pro quo. Well, let's understand how this started. It started from a member of the Trump administration actually whistleblowing, who we have yet to hear from, on what they believe that was quid pro quo. And there have been other testimony, according to House Democrats, that have said that it supports the case that there is the need for the inquiry. So, sure, this ambassador will say his side today, and we'll look at all of the evidence. That's what they're doing. That's good government.
So we're seeing something that's unprecedented. The fact that Nancy Pelosi will not take, or has not taken a vote, an actual vote, and is going through this inquiry process because she's being led by a small minority group in her party. The fact that this ambassador is going to say that there was no exchange of quid pro quo, the fact that we saw a summary that did not have any exchange of quid pro quo, the fact that the Ukraine president has said there was no exchange of quid pro quo, that continues. However, Democrats are still on this mission because they know that the field of candidates that they have to try to run against our president is an abysmal failure, and they know that our president will prevail.
This is something that we're going to find out a little bit more about later this week. But also, let's talk about Syria and U.S. troops headed for a complete withdrawal from that country now. Former U.S. allies are now getting help from Syria and Russia against a Turkish invasion, so to speak. The president is getting backlash from both sides of the aisle on this. Could this escalating situation affect support for the president now?
Our president has been very clear that he felt that we were in wars, especially in the Middle East, that we never should have been in. He's been very clear that he inherited quite a few messes, and this was one of them. The fact that he withdrew the troops because he said that it was not going to be a win for the U.S. economy and for America, that's no surprise if you follow the president and the president's foreign policies. Now we're seeing that he's going to prevail with some economic sanctions. So some of his critics, including Lindsey Graham, are now backpedaling and backing down because they're saying these sanctions will seriously hurt Turkey. We're going to see this all unfold. We're not quite sure exactly what the end result will be, but the president has always been clear that he feels we've been in a war that we shouldn't have been in the first place.
I think when we finally agree on something, we're not quite sure. We're not quite sure about this president and whether or not he knows what he's doing. At the end of the day, he's getting criticism, as Jose mentioned, from both sides of the aisle. So that means his party has recognized that what's happening in the region is way more critical than him saying, well, we're just engaged in a war. There's a cleansing that's happening, an ethnic cleansing and humanitarian violation that is causing both sides to say this is not the time for us to withdraw troops. There'll be about 300 troops that are left. We'll withdraw about 1,000 troops. With the greatest military in the world, we're not talking about some war that's really blowing up and killing a lot of U.S. soldiers. This president is looking and grasping for anything that he can to help re-election. He's the one playing politics. He's the one afraid of the field of candidates that the Democratic Party has prepared to beat him as they're all polling higher.
That's another issue that this week we'll be developing, and we will keep track of it. But we do appreciate both of you coming in, chiming in.
I got excited when he said we agreed.
Well, you do, occasionally. But thank you both for coming in.